Tonight, we have with us Mrs. Ditzah Or, mother of Avinatan Or. I don't know the details of the story myself, but I am very much looking forward to hearing all the details. There are moments in our lives that force us to look deep within our hearts and souls to, just to find the courage to become something more. I can't imagine what it was like to be in a situation where you have someone like a child, a son, a mother and a son, so close to go through the challenge, the pain, the suffering, the unknown, the waiting, to find that inner soul courage to, stand firmly in your beliefs, having that faith. It's these moments in time that help us to discover deeper parts of who we are. It allows us to express truer expressions of our souls. And I'm looking forward to hearing all the great details and to find out about where she found that strength and courage, that determination to hold on to that belief. So without further ado, thank you so much. This is Or.
Thank you. Okay, so ever since Avinatan was kidnapped, when I want to say good morning or good evening, I always say, good evening, Be'ezrat Hashem. We hope it will be a good evening, we hope it will be a good day. We do believe that everything Hashem does is good, but what we're going through in the last 9 months, over 9 months, is probably good, but it's very painful, very difficult, and I'm here to share some of it with you. I will talk for about 45 minutes, and then I can take some questions and try to answer them as well as I can. And I'd like to also apologize for my English, which is not as good as my Hebrew, but I'll do my best at that also. Okay. Avinatan is my second child out of 7, Shiubrim. He was kidnapped when he was 30 years old, and on Tu B'Shvat he became 31. We had an enormous celebration for him. We donated a Sefer Torah for the shul where we live in Shiloh, and had other happenings on this special day. I don't know whether Avinatan knew the date or whether he even knows when it's day or night. We have reasons to believe that he's kept underground and doesn't see much daylight or air, fresh air. I'll show you Avinatan soon. A few pictures of his life since he was small. At the middle of this clip, there will be the film, the short video that these monsters delivered when he was kidnapped. And then after it, a few snapshots of out of many, many things we do since then, our struggle to bring him home, to get him out to freedom, and bring him back to life with us, everyone. Avinatan's older brother, which is my firstborn, his name's Moshe, he's 33. My youngest daughter is here, her name is Emunah. And we're all in this together, Baruch Hashem, doing our best. Each of us, all my children, as you see, are adults by now. I don't really have to take care of them and to support them. In some ways I do, but each of them has a different way of coping and of leading their struggle. So we're really a sort of a working group together. So we'll see Avinatan here for a minute, And after that, we'll see another short clip, and then we'll talk more, okay? Okay, so can we turn off the lights, please? That's Avinatan. That's my third son here. The song in the background is talking about, talks about my home, which is broken and so on. No sound? That's my daughter. It's a great book. United. That's at the Noa party. That's the last we saw of them. It's my son, third son, speaking. My firstborn. Hashem, my son, grandson, all. After the endless Torah space. 100 days. All my children. You win. Yes. So now you know him a little. You can see how wonderful he is. Today is at the store, 197 in meters. Very, very strong, physically and mentally. In very good shape and kosher. Fit. He's very, very fit. He's really worked on it a lot. He served in a very special unit in the army, so he really knows how to cope. And we hope this helps him during this terrible time. After the army, he studied electric engineering, and he works as an electric engineer in the international company, high-tech company, NVIDIA. You've heard of it? Yeah. They are really so much together with us in this story. They accompany us, they help us. They're really a great company. We're in personal touch with their, with Jensen, their owner. So that's what Avinatan did. At the end of his studies in Be'er Sheva, he met Noa. And ever since they've been together, which now is over 3 years, apart from being very strong, Avinatan is very generous, very good-hearted. He loves friends. He has an enormous amount of friends that I got to know through these months everywhere. People love him so much. He's a wonderful cook, chef. He makes very complicated dishes and very complicated cakes with so many stages of preparing. At home, we always loved to help. He hasn't been living in home since he was 18, but whenever he's on his way home, he calls me and he asks me to prepare a list of what things have to be done. What can he do when he comes? Because he's strong and he puts things away, does some repairing wherever I need. And he's very, very funny. Doesn't talk much. He's a quiet person, but he knows to put the right word just in the right place and make everyone fall down laughing. Maybe he does that also now. On that day of Simchat Torah, he was with Noa in Be'er Sheva. I didn't know he was going to the party. Actually, they didn't until the last minute. They just decided that they were going there very, very late and arrived at the party at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the attack began at 6 o'clock, so they didn't get much celebrating. Every week since Avinatan left home, he called me on Friday, just before Shabbat, and we had such a lovely talk every week. He told me things he does or did this week, and so did I. I always made small notes what to tell him. Remember to tell him all the things in the family or in my life that happened. And we had this sweet conversation every Friday, and then from this talking, I went into lighting the candles of Shabbat. This Friday, he didn't call, the last Friday before Simchat Torah, because we were together. Twice a year, we have whole Shabbat, that the whole family comes, all the children and grandchildren, and the sons-in-law and everyone. And it's a wonderful, wonderful occasion. We have it on first festival of Sukkot, and also on Shabbat Chanukah. So first festival of Sukkot, he was with us, and he stayed for another few days because we had other occasions on the family. So we really were together until Tuesday night. The last event was a birthday for my 3-year-old granddaughter. Shai is her name, means a gift. And we were there with him. It was a beautiful occasion. The whole family was there. It was out in a big park, wonderful air. Everyone was so happy. We couldn't, of course, imagine. It was sweating over the corner. So since we were together so much, he felt he didn't have to call again on Friday, and it was okay with me. And And then for Simchat Torah, I was in Yerushalayim at my mother's. We started hearing the sirens in Yerushalayim, and as a person who grew up in Yerushalayim, we usually say, a mistake. But it went on, and usually when it's a mistake, then it stops after 10, 15 seconds. But these sirens went on for the whole 3 minutes, and again after a few minutes, so we began to understand something was happening. Of course, I didn't open my cell phone or any other means of communication because we observe Shabbat. But we have a foreign worker, Indian, so he started running through his messages and through the Shobet. Media, yes. And he began collecting information and telling us that something's happening in the south and there's a big attack from Gaza. It was terrible to hear. Still, I thought it doesn't have to do anything personal with our family because we're all from Yerushalayim and north, Tel Aviv, Haifa, all over, but not in the south. And we continued just following what's happening and continuing the festival. As usual, we had our meal, and then I went to rest. And around 3:30, I heard steps down on the path to the house, which the path is right under my window. And something in these steps caught my ear. I listened. And then there was a knock on the door of the apartment, and I was a little surprised because it's not a time for people to come. Usually, we know that everyone rests at these hours. And something in me told me, don't open. So I didn't, and the knocks went on the door. And I didn't open until our worker, he got up and opened the door, and I heard the voices of my children, 2 of my children. And then I began to understand something was happening. Because they weren't in Yerushalayim for Simchat Torah, and they don't drive on Chag, on Shabbat, but they came over, and then they knocked on my door, and I said, no, I'm not opening. I didn't want to let it in. I wanted to keep it away, what they were bringing. And they kept knocking for another few times. Finally, they opened the door, and I saw them there, 2 of my children, my daughter and my 3rd son, with the psychologists of our area, of Binyamin Zone. Then I fully understood that something bad was happening. I asked them, who is it? What happened? And they told me, as simple as that, Avinatan was kidnapped. There was a terror attack from Gaza, and he was in the Nova Festival, and was kidnapped from there. These moments, until now, are moments that are not fully understood to me, but it felt as if I was erased totally. Because, no, not because. Unfortunately, we are familiar with different disasters that happen to people. Sometimes very near to us, sometimes ourselves, and we know them. We can conceive them. We have inner structures to to deal with them. Kidnapping is not one of them. We have never heard of someone being kidnapped in our reality. It's not a thing you know how to deal with, or even how to think about it, feel about. It was just too big to handle. So I felt like I was erased, I wasn't there for a few moments. Physically, I also felt it, so I sat on the floor, crouched, and waited for my breath to come back, for sort of to connect to myself again. It took a long time to connect to myself again, but I started לתפקד, function, yes, thank you. You said so? Started functioning before I was really myself again. After a few moments, I got up and I sat on a chair like this. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Waited for Motzei Shabbat. I didn't open any media because it was Shabbat, and I figured I have no role, nothing I can do. It's not as if I was the defense forces or police or had gun or anything. So just for my curiosity, I wouldn't lechalel Shabbat. I wouldn't do something that's forbidden on Shabbat. So I waited until Motzei Shabbat. Just sat on a chair. The thing I remember from these 4 hours is that I was so thirsty. My mouth was dry, extremely dry, and I drank water and it didn't help. And the psychologist there told me that that's what the body feels in a time of trauma. So I understood. It was the second Shabbat only that we didn't observe intentionally. Okay? The first Shabbat was when Avinatan was born. At the morning, I felt it was beginning, and I said, after my first delivery, this will take eternity. So I said, we'll wait for Motzei Shabbat, and then we'll drive from Shiloh, where I live, to Yerushalayim, where the hospital is. But very quickly I understood that I cannot wait anymore. And we took an ambulance, and half an hour after we were in the hospital, I was already holding him. As you can see, such a beautiful baby, radiant, wonderful, like a present. So quick, so it was a very, very good delivery, very healthy, Baruch Hashem. Like also the pregnancy, so he's like a present. That's why we called him Avinatan. Avi is our father. Natan is gave us. Natan is from the root of matana, which is a present. So we really were gifted with Avinatan, and that was the first Shabbat we didn't observe. איך אומרים לחלל שבת?
Desecrate.
איך?
To desecrate.
Desecrate?
To break.
Break. Okay, that's an easier word. This is the first Shabbat we broke. The second Shabbat we broke intentionally is when Avinatan was kidnapped. And these 2 Shabbatot made me expect more of every Shabbat. Now, I really am so anticipate so much his returning every minute, every day, but especially on Shabbat, because there's something about him that is connected to Shabbat. His life is very much connected to Shabbat. Of course, his brit was on Shabbat in Yerushalayim. His bar mitzvah was on Shabbat. was kidnapped on Shabbat. And 4 weeks ago, at the Shabbat meal, I started singing a Shabbat song that I never sang before. Never ever we sang it at home. It's also a Yemenite song, which is not our source, as you can see. I started singing it out of nowhere. The words are in Hebrew, Ish'al Elohai, Ig'al Shevuyim, Yesof Zeruim, and so on. It's a long poem, which means, I'll ask my God to redeem the prisoners and to collect all the people scattered far away. And I sang this song over and over again in loops for a long time, maybe 20 minutes. I had no idea why this came to me to sing this song, but it felt just right and so exact. And 3 hours later, 2 of my friends came rushing over, knocked on the door, the same door. And as I came in, they were so happy to tell me that Noa was released. Turns out that while I was singing, at the same time, she was rescued. At the same time. So it really was so happy and so encouraging. And it was also on Shabbat. And it made me even more expect on Shabbat Avinatan's return. But if he wants to come today, of course, we receive him every minute. Of course. I thought that after Noa came back, she would need so much time to recover and to go through whatever she needs to go through in such an extreme things she's going through. So I didn't call her. I said, we'll give her time, and whenever she wants to see us or to talk with us, she'll let us know. Of course, we, the family, really, really wanted very much to see her, to hug her, to hear from her. But I just sent her a message, a very small WhatsApp message, saying we're so happy she's back. And I sent her a huge hug. I didn't even say, whenever you want, we'll come, or tell us when you want us to come. Nothing about coming or meeting, leaving it totally for her to decide. The day after we got a message from her, I texted on Sunday morning, Sunday noon, we already got an answer, please come. Very, very quick. And we were very excited, very surprised. And we came. We met her just so recently after she returned. And thank you. I have your whole set. You should come to Israel to taste the water. Yeah, such good water in Shiloh especially. It was a very, very special meeting. I got to know how brave Noa is. We also, I came with all my girls and my sons-in-law, and around us were all the officers accompanying us and the medical staff that's taking care of Noa. We met her in the Ichilov hospital. All the 4 hostages that were released were taken first Tel HaShomer for all their examinations, but Noa from Tel HaShomer quickly was moved to Ichilov, where her mother, her late mother, was מאושפזת. Hospitalized, yes. I met with Noah's parents many times through these 9 months, so we were very good friends by that time. And when we came to see Noah in Ichilov, all our family, we decided how to handle this meeting. And also, as we did before, we decided we won't burden on Noah anything. We won't ask questions. We'll let her say what she wants, tell us what she feels she wants to talk about. We won't make it difficult for her in any way. And as we sat down, she began talking and she said, please ask anything you want to hear. Anything you want me to say, please feel free to ask. And she talked for so long, for so much. Her doctors, they told her, okay, that's enough. We see that you're tired and you're exhausted. Let's finish this, let's end this meeting. She wouldn't. She was so forthcoming, she was so good. Really, she was wonderful. She told us everything that happened on that day of the festival, Simchat Torah. They were fleeing for almost 5 hours, looking for a place to escape, a way to escape. They had Noah's father's car, which they came in. We know some of Avinatan's friends were also in this festival, and they escaped. They came back home. Some of them haven't had yet the courage to meet with us, but most of them did. We know that Avinatan had his chances of escaping. As I told you, he is a very strong person and very well, has a very good training, yes, thank you. So he knows how to handle such situations as far as he can, yes, but he chose not to neglect Noa, not to leave her alone. So as you can see in the clip of his kidnapping, he's not hurt, Baruch Hashem. He's healthy and strong, and he walks after Noah out of his free will. Many times I thought to myself, or I was asked also, what do you think about it? Are you angry with him for going, for choosing this? And I thought about it I really gave it some thought. And it's a very, very difficult thing to think about, but finally I concluded that that's him. Had he escaped and Noah was taken, he would have never ever forgiven himself. He couldn't ever lived with himself knowing that that's what he did. So this choice is very authentic for him. That's who he is. And I'm proud of him that he really followed his inner conscience, his inner true self, and did the brave thing to do. And I hope this stands for him and will bring him home healthy and strong. I'd like to share with you another short clip. It's about 1.5 minutes. What we can see in this clip is the last photos or films that we have of Avinatan. You didn't say it? No? Excuse me. Maybe we can connect this straight to the screen. Okay, so until it's on, I'll explain. It's the last videos taken of Avinatan. It's made up of 3 short videos. 2 of them were about 2 weeks before the abduction. He was on a run, a jogging run, running on the shore of Tel Aviv with his madrich Ditzah, with his running guide, yes. He had a bet with his friends. The run was for 5 kilometers, and whether he could do it in less than 5.5 minutes per kilometer, which is quite fast. Very fast. So he had a bet. The first part is before the running. They were filming themselves before running, and the second part was after the running, and you'll have to wait to see what the result was. And no? And then there is the short video that you already saw of him being kidnapped, and that's the last we ever saw of him or heard of him. None of the hostages that returned in the first deal after 53 days, and none of the hostages that were released in 3 different situations, not situations, מבצעים, operations, yes. Saw Avinatan. None of them saw him there. None of them know anything about him. We have an indication of life through the intelligence that we received about 5 months ago, which is so long. It's just saying that he is alive, not where he's held, not how he is, not what conditions he is held in, what he eats, how he's treated, what his health situation is. We don't know anything of all this. We only know that 5 months ago he was still alive. And we hope he still is. We hope he'll return now. When my children came and told me these horrible news, they tried to comfort me, to say something good. So they said, you can see that he was, that he's well, that he's not wounded, and מה? זה שלי לא עובד. So they told me, you see, he's okay. You should be encouraged by that. Other people were wounded and they were kidnapped, being wounded and bleeding. Yeah, it was good to see that he was okay, but it doesn't comfort me because it means that at the minute this film was taken, he was okay. We don't know what happened a minute after. And they say, it's good to know that he was kidnapped because some people just disappeared and nothing is known about them, and that was also not so much reinforcing. Although really we didn't know by then that people would have such a terrible time for over 7 months not knowing anything about what happened to their dear ones. I have a very good friend, a family, Liebman, that their son was missing for over 7 months. No one knew what happened to him. There was no evidence. Only after 7 months, they got they were told that he was in an ambulance. He was evacuating people from the party. He worked as a מאבטח.
Oh, no, I think I'm wrong. Medic, like security? Oh.
Security.
Yeah.
No, keep trying. Thank you. He was working as security for the party. The whole party was without weapons. Also the guards didn't carry any weapons, which is unbelievable. It's right under the wall to Gaza, and there were no weapons around, no means of protecting themselves. Also in the party, people were not allowed to carry or to have anything that can be dangerous, not even glasses or plates, cutlery, nothing. They were so helpless. Only they could fight with their own hands against missiles and machine guns and everything that attacked them. So this boy, my friend's son, was a guard there, and he disappeared. And after a lot of investigation, they finally came to the conclusion that he was in a certain ambulance that was at the party, and an RPG missile hit that ambulance, and all the 18 people that were inside just vanished. And their remnants, what stayed, was buried, and what remained of him, by mistake, was buried with another girl. So they had to open the grave and to start whatever they did, and they had him buried somewhere else. So 7 months before, my children told me, you can see that he was taken, and it's good for us that we know at least what happened to him on that same day. She was right, my daughter, when she said that, but still it wasn't comforting at all. Knowing that your son is kidnapped by the most brutal people on earth isn't comforting. The only thing that did comfort me is when she said, it's all in the hands of Hashem. Even these people, these brutal people, are under the supervision of Hashem, and Hashem is with Avinatan. Nothing can happen to him that is not Hashem's decision. And that gave me air, that helped me to breathe, and that's what's keeping me alive until today. Because I know that what's happening now is a part of a very big story of the whole world, actually. It's the story of our states, the story of our nation. And the story of our nation is actually the story of the world, because in the Torah, we are called Mamlechet Kohanim, which is a kingdom of priests. That's what the nation of Israel is. And priests are not just very noble people, or that have all these rights and all zchuyot.
Merits.
Yeah,
Merits.
sort of, yes, but
Privileges?
privileges, yes. Thank you. They're not, because that's not what Kohanim in Israel are about. They have a role to connect the divine with the human. They're supposed to bring the light of Hashem to the world. And we as a nation are called a kingdom of priests, and that's what we are supposed to do. That's what we've been doing for about 4,000 years. And we know that now, since Simchat Torah, like a page was turned over in the history, the book of the history of the world. A new era is beginning now, and in these very difficult months, it's the process of turning over the page. And actually we, all of us, in our blood, are writing a biblical chapter in the history. And Avinatan has a very leading role in this chapter. I don't consider him as a victim, as a helpless person, although, of course, he didn't choose, at least not consciously, to take part in this event. But as I said before, he did choose how to react, and all the hostages are messengers, are warriors of light in the depths of the darkness. I know he is there fighting for the whole free world, to make the world a better place for everyone, and not only better, but a good place. Not only good, but the best place possible to live in harmony, in love, in peace for everyone. That's the Geulah, that's the redemption we are heading for, and we are leading as a people the world to. So we pray that Avinatan will join us soon, now, and will continue his special role, but through freedom, and in happiness and health, and surrounded by our love. Is this getting on?
One
No,
that works,
yes.
and one that doesn't.
Okay. So I can talk on forever, but if there's any questions you would like to ask, we'll give that time now. Okay.
Thank you so much. Wow. You spoke so beautifully, so calmly, so in harmony. Did you always have this grace and emunah and bitachon? Has this journey led you to where you are now? And how can we have some of that?
Okay, thank you. Truth is, as this war broke out, all the families of the abducted people, we came together. And quite soon I realized what a great gift I have, which is the faith. I cannot imagine how someone can go through such a terrible thing without emunah, without knowing that everything that's happening is under divine supervision, that everything has a meaning, everything is aimed for the good, which means that everything that happens, even though it's very, very painful, is good. Something bad and something painful is not the same thing. Bad and painful are not the same thing. And so it's very, very painful, but still I am very careful with my words. And faith gives me so much strength. It is the koach to get up every morning, to breathe again, and to believe that there is so much to do, and Bezrat Hashem, we'll see Avinatan again soon. But it's a struggle. Emunah is a choice you have to make every moment, again and again. It's not our default system. We do have, I'll say in Sobraim, that I teach Jewish psychology, especially mystical Jewish psychology. And the basis to this learning is the structure of the soul according to the Kabbalah. And according to this structure, in the Keter, in the highest sphere of each and every one of us, is three stages. The highest one of them is emunah, is faith, which means that inside ourselves, in the deepest, most deepest place, we are all believers. We all believe. It's only in the only thing is that it's in the, not subconscious, but the above conscious, which means we don't feel it, we cannot connect to it consciously. So in the over-consciousness of each one of us, there is faith. Our work through life is to connect to this place and have and feel our emunah really inside our souls. So that's my profession. I've been working on it for at least 30 years, so it was more available for me. But still, it's a choice. It's a struggle and a choice. We have to make every minute in life. And the hardest time for me, personally, you'd probably think, when's the hardest time in the day? What would you feel?
At night.
At night. Yeah. But for me, the most difficult time is the morning. As I wake up and it hits me again that Avinatan is not home and what he's going through. And every day that it doesn't return is like he was being taken right now, today. So it like happens every day, again and again. And think of it as a small hammer. The smallest hammer in Israel is half a kilo. Don't know how much it is in pounds, maybe 1 pound or something like this. And having a small hammer hit you on the hand, once it's it doesn't hurt so much, but again tomorrow and again the day after and again for almost 300 days on the same spot exactly. And think about it not only every morning, but all the time, not stopping on the same spot, only half a kilo. Your bones would have been totally broken. Everything would have been at such a situation. Every small wind that goes on your hand would be so painful. And that's what's happening again and again and again. It doesn't get easier. On the contrary, it gets much more painful and much more dangerous for Avinatan. Plus, it's not a half a kilo hitting you. It's tons and tons on your hand, on your soul, again and again. So what's keeping me alive and functioning is only Hashem and the love of all Jewish people I meet, which are so together and so reinforcing. And that's really a great, great, great help for me, for my family, and for all the friends that I know that are in this situation. Okay?
Any other questions?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for being here. We're very grateful. I'm having challenges receiving everything that you're saying because and I'm not a hostage family, but I've dedicated my Instagram page to the hostages, met with a lot of the hostage families, spent an inordinate amount of time in the last 9 months. I cannot reconcile what has happened. It's extremely challenging for me, so I don't understand how to learn from you to have a different perspective. So I've been very upset by this, and I spoke with a rabbi who's not in this facility on Friday because I was so upset, and he's been very supportive through Instagram. So he said, if you ever need anything, tell me. And I was so desperate and I was crying, so I reached out to him on Friday, and he couldn't give me what I perceived to be a reasonable answer. And he said, there's a reason for it, and we just don't know the reason. And I said, well, that's not acceptable. And so I don't understand how you have the faith, the emunah. You began today by saying, this is painful, but it's good. How could any of it be good that this is your child, that this is happening to? And how do you reconcile that? Like, I know you're saying it's his choice, but it was none of their choices to be there and to be taken. So I don't know how to function and understand that this can go on in the world, and that people like you and your son and your daughters and your entire family and all the 120 hostages, you're suffering. I don't know. And I was asking the rabbi, so what does it say in the Torah? Like, where's the section? Where do you find the section? And there's no section. So my heart is broken for you.
I can hear and see. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And just as a sidebar, and I know other people in
As
this
a what?
room, as a side note, you know, I was born and raised in Iran. Iran took hostages in 1979. They took 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. I don't know why I feel, in quotations, responsible, but that's what my nation has done to your nation. I cannot cope. And so how do you cope when it's your child?
It's so moving for me to see how connected you are. Thank you.
It's our duty and it's our responsibility. And what is shocking for me, especially as an Iranian, given that there are 8 American hostages, that the streets of America are not filled with American flags, at least taking a stand for them. So I don't understand how the whole world isn't uniting on your behalf and on their behalf in standing in solidarity with you and all of them.
It is a big question about the whole world, which I do have an answer for. But I can hear that that's not what you're asking now. What is more bothering for you is something else. I'll tell you 2 answers. First is personal, and the second is larger. Actually, they connect to one answer, actually, but I do divide them. Avinatan needs me. I'm his mother, and I'm here to fight for him. I cannot allow myself to be weak cannot allow myself to break down. I would love to stay in bed, cry, and not see anyone, and just die. But I haven't the privilege for that. I have to bring him back. And as much helpless as I feel most of the time, and as little we have of things we can do, I do it 24/7. I don't rest, I hardly eat. I am all in the fight to bring Avinatan Or. And I'm not letting myself break down for that. That's one answer. People ask me, what's the first thing you'll do when he returns? And then I say, I'll break down. I'll allow myself to cry and to everything. But then I think it's not a good answer, because then we have to receive him and we have to help him come back to life. So I'll have to wait a little more. That's the first answer. And the second answer is, as I said before, I strongly believe that this world is conducted by God, and that there is personal divine supervision over every one of us. And it means that we have a role. God is expecting us to do something. And I really think about it a lot. What is Hashem expecting me to do? I am in a very special position. I have so much media around me. I can meet anyone I choose to. That's a lot of power. What do I use this power for? It's like God put me in this place, gave me so much power, I have to use it. And I truly believe that if I do what God is expecting me to do, that will also help Avinatan. That will also be for his merit. And it will fasten, it will quicker his return home. So knowing that I can help Avinatan and wanting to more than anything else in my life right now, that keeps me strong.
But how do you have faith in this God that allowed this to happen? What type of God allows this to happen?
It's a good question. I fight with him many times, yes. And I say, we expect an answer, and quick, because what's happening is it's very bad for you. It's giving you very bad PR. I'm not here to explain him and to explain why what he's doing is right, but I do know that he means well, and that finally we will understand, even though we don't now. You know, Hashem, God is endless, yeah? Ein Sof, obviously Ein Sof. Infinity, yes. And it means we have different sort of relationships with him. He is our father and we are his children. He is our king, we are his servants. For me, he's always been my best friend also. So I say, as a king can do anything, and he stays a king. Servants don't have much to say about their king's actions. The father also can do things that his children don't really accept or agree with, and still he remains their father. But as my best friend, I have fights with him. I do argue with him, and sometimes I shout at him even, and I say that it's not acceptable. That's not how you behave with friends. He usually hugs me back. At least I feel so, and he tries to comfort me. And sometimes we reconcile, yes. And sometimes it takes another day or two, but I can feel his love. And that's not rationalizing, that's a feeling. According to the structure of the soul, we teach or we learn that the highest over-conscious, above-conscious levels are not conceived in the intellectual level of our being, but in the heart. We can feel a clue of our faith in the heart. So it's hard to explain, but if you really, really want it, and you address him with it, you'll get it. He promised, and he keeps this promise. Keeps all his promises, I guess, but this is very quick. If you really sort of meet with him and tell him, I want to feel you, I want to see, or to be sure that you're with me and you're conducting my life, he gives it to you inside your heart.
Thank you for your
I think it's
faith
the
and your
best I can
courage
say.
and your strength. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. I was wondering if you're carrying so much or holding so much, and I think everyone here holds with you, maybe just a little bit of it. So if there was something that you want us to do, what would that be?
Be good. Yeah. Be good to each other. You know, once a day, when you feel like being aggressive or being hurt, just say, in the merit of Avinatan or any other hostage, I overcome my nature. I become just a bit better, and all these merits, they do help him. They bring him home quicker, and if he still needs to be there, chas v'chalila, for another day, they keep him safe and protected. That's one thing. Of course, tefillot, of course, tehillim. We say there's a custom of saying tehillim according to the age of the person. So since he was 31, he's now in his 32nd year of life. So we say chapter 32nd, 32 of Tehillim. So you might join us if you want to. Keep the subject on public דעת קהל. מי אומר לי מה זה דעת קהל? Public awareness, yes. Because naturally it becomes old news and people stop thinking about it, stop dealing with it, and that's the worst that can happen. People are alive, they're suffering every minute, and they must never be forgotten until they're home. And that's much to us, that's much in our hands, up to us, to keep public awareness of this unacceptable situation. Whoever of you has important contacts with people who are powerful or decision makers, pressure them. It's the fight of the whole free world which is happening now. Avinatan is fighting for all of us and for the whole free world, and the whole free world should stand behind him. And please take out this message for as many people as I can. I brought just a little few things we hand out. If you wear the little pin of the hostages, or a dog tag, anything that reminds people it's important. We also contact with Avinatan by thinking. That's a whole different story I can tell you if you want, but that's something anyone can do.
Tell us.
But I don't know if everyone still has patience when they're sitting. Yes, it's another few minutes.
The angels.
The angels? Ah, okay, that's something else.
It's very important.
Uh,
It's very necessary.
The first thing I did when I was told that Avinatan was taken away is trying to contact him. It still is impossible to agree with his so disconnected, so much apart from me, without me being able to be in any contact with him. It's a terrible, terrible feeling. So what I tried to do, and something is so inconceivable about it, it's so close, you know, I could walk the distance to where he is held from the border. So I tried contacting with him by thought. If I can't call him or talk with him, at least I can have some contact in higher level. So every morning I would go out to my garden. I have a private house in Shiloh, and it's on the mountain, and my garden has a very large view all over, and I face south, which is towards Gaza. And I looked for Avinatan there. I closed my eyes and I was searching for him, searching for a sign of life from him, some sort of communication. And I couldn't. It was all dark, all quiet, no sign of life for a long time. Every day, a few times a day. Most of the day I was trying, I couldn't find anything. And then after about 2 weeks, when I came there to my position in the morning, I again closed my eyes and was looking for Avinatan, and suddenly it hit me, I saw him, and he was in a terrible situation. So I immediately opened my eyes, I couldn't see that. And when I came back the morning after, again I closed my eyes and I was calling him, and again I saw him in the same situation. It was so frightening. And again I sort of jumped out of the picture. And gradually, day by day, I found the courage to stay, to be with him where he is, through what he's going through. And I could stay there for 2 seconds and then 3 seconds. And I taught myself to be strong enough, to be brave enough. If he can be there physically, I can be there mentally with him. And it was terribly sad to see him in such a state, but we met every day and I was with him.
I have a question.
About this or something else?
About this.
Okay.
You trying to telepathize with your son, you find it that potentially he could have a distress from that, or you find it that he will definitely be harmonious with doing that?
It depends on me, on what my situation is. If I'm depressed and I contact with him, I'll send him all this weakness and this low waves.
Vibration.
Yeah, low vibration, and that's part of why I keep myself in a high vibration, in a high.
Do you find that you give him harmony?
Harmony? I never thought of this word. It's a very disharmonious situation, but I do try to give him strength and belief and confidence and light. Yes. Hmm?
That's truly beautiful.
Ah,
what
thank
you're
you.
doing. It's really neat.
So I want to continue my story.
Yeah. That's why I said that.
So I saw him like this in a very bad situation, very broken. And after maybe a few weeks of this, suddenly one morning, as I connected with him, I saw him standing up, and it was such a surprise. It was so good to see him standing. And after another few days, I saw him standing with a talit over him. It was, wow, it was so much light. And the day after, which was very quick, I saw him with a tefillin and a talit. And of course, I know that's not possible in a physical way. He doesn't have a talit and tefillin there. But for me, it meant that he is connected with his inner strength, with his inner light. And that's when I began crying. I really burst into tears at that moment. And every day I saw him since the beginning, I saw him far away from me, like maybe this wall over there. And I was looking at him, and he was by profile looking that way. So I told him, Avinatan, if you're already in this good state, turn towards me, look at me. So we did. He turned, and he walked all the way to me without me asking him to. He approached me until he came and we hugged. And ever since, we go through this time together. A few days later, I had a very difficult moment, and I was leaning on the rail of my house like this, and I was crying. And then he came. He just stood next to me, and he hugged me like this. I could feel it on my flesh, really. It was so comforting. He always did that. He hugged me. He knew the exact moment that it was necessary. So he came, and when I have my difficult times, he comes and gives me koach, gives me strength. And when I'm strong, when I feel the light, I send it to him. I try to do it every day. And I hope we can do it physically. You know, sometimes I sit and I think people see me sitting like this. Just think I'm very weird or leaning over. But I really feel it. Okay? So that's about reaching out to him. It's okay? Okay, good. So that's him. Okay. You want to turn off the lights? The audio is off. From the beginning? That's one with English subtitles. There's one with English subtitles. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being part and giving us so much strength, togetherness, and of caring. It really is very, very important, even crucial. And I hope we celebrate together very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.